Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to JKWD Podcast, where it's another week. Hey, what's going on, Kelvin?
Wonderful. Can I drink coffee now?
Yeah, you can drink coffee. I didn't even do anything to get you.
I'm doing well, man. I'm not sure what the temperature is right now, but it was silly earlier this morning. But it's bright and sunny and blue skies, and there's a truck down the street taking down rotten trees that I can hear in the background, and I'm doing all right, having fun, healthy,
sweet,
moving around on my own power, and still relatively cute. I realize that's a subjective call.
And ladies, he's single.
Don't start. How about you?
I'm doing good. We had some crazy weather this week, and by this week I mean last week, because our audio time travels. But all those storms in Alabama that caused the tornadoes and stuff there, they shut down everything early here, and all I got at my house was a short little thunderstorm. But other people got it worse.
I love those
hail over on the beach.
I love those little coves where I live when the hurricane can come by and take out trees and stuff over there, but I just get a little rain in the backyard.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to move from this spot, really. We've been very fortunate in the 20-some years I've been here.
Yeah.
I mess up a good deal.
But, I spent, those storms were on Thursday. And I spent Wednesday in my break from work about 1 o'clock in the morning. I went out in the backyard and I secured everything. And it turns out that barely even some leaves blew across the yard.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go spend some time putting the yard back together. But,
well, if you're going to have a storm this way, do it. In my case, the winds have been taking the siding off my house. It's been really, really weird. Just this one place, but it's been taking it off and moving it around the house. Now, too bad it couldn't take it back when it did it, but 3 or 4 pieces came around the house, landed in the backyard. One time came around the front of the house and ended up in a bush outside my window. And I'm like, wow.
As long as it doesn't come through your window.
Beg pardon?
As long as it doesn't come through your window.
No, it didn't come through the window. And it's vinyl, but I mean, if the wind can rip it off, it can certainly probably put it through a window if it needed to. But luckily, Mother Nature hasn't found that necessary to get my attention. So I'm okay with that. That's what I'm saying. But life's good.
Hey, I want to, we don't do this much on this podcast, but I want to acknowledge the death this week of Dick Hoyt, who only some of you are going to have heard of, but Dick has a son, Rick, who is a quadriplegic with cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair. And in 1977, Rick heard the story. They lived in Boston area. Rick heard the story of a local lacrosse player who got into an accident and was not going to be able to use his legs again. And Rick said, I want to take part in this 5-mile race to show this lacrosse player what's still possible. And Dad, Dick, said, okay, let's do it. And everybody said, he'll never finish. So they did this 5-mile race and they finished, came in second to last, not last. But they finished, and eventually they worked it up so that they qualified for the Boston Marathon. And if anybody knows about those bigger marathons, Boston, New York, and LA, and Chicago, and such, you actually have to qualify. So many people want to get in that you have to get under a time, and you have to get under that time by age group. So younger people have to go faster than older people. In order to get both Dick and Rick in, they had to get in under Rick's age qualifying time, with Dick, who's already older, pushing the wheelchair. And they did. They got in under about 2 hours and 50 minutes for the 26.2 miles. And they became such a kind of a phenomenon there that they got an automatic entry every year, and they ran it a few dozen times. And They ended up in the Triathlon Hall of Fame. They wound up doing some 1,200 distance events together, and marathons, triathlons, that kind of stuff. And COVID shut down the Boston Marathon last year, so they didn't get to do it, and they didn't know that 2019 would have been Dick's last one because he passed away last Wednesday at the age of 80. But when I think of better humanhood, I think of somebody like Dick who raised a kid in a wheelchair and then took him on adventures and wound up in the Triathlon Hall of Fame, pushing him around.
Awesome.
Yeah. As always, we are brought to you today by Vitamin K Daily. Sometimes it's just an uplifting story, even when we lose somebody, right? And you can get your daily dose of positive, your positive, uplifting, motivating, energizing email Monday through Friday. Start with 4 weeks free by going to vitaminkdaily.com. I almost got that out. vitaminkdaily.com. Get yourself 4 weeks free. After that, just $24.95 a year. But if it's not for you, you just stop it during your trial, and you won't get charged one red 9.5 cents because that's what it costs you per day.
I enjoy the concept of that coin that is 9.5 cents.
9.5 cent coin.
I think I need to have a graphic artist give me one of those. 9.5 cents.
Take a dime and shave it down a little bit. Or you just
there's an idea.
You just chop a penny in half and
there you go. That'll work. So
vitaminkdaily.com. Get yourself 4 weeks free. Let's do the show.
Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
Hey, so Kelvin, you had yourself an energizing week. You did something that
I did.
A lot of people are so reticent to do.
Mm-hmm.
And how? Before we say what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you felt after you did it.
After I did it?
Yes.
Well, about 10 minutes after I did it, I felt light, just better, just good. By the time the day was done, I was having all kinds of sense of humor. I was bouncing around the house. I talked to a friend of mine later that evening, and they're like, what got into you? Did you get, well, I'm not even going to say what they asked me. The answer to her question was no. I hadn't gotten that, but I just felt like, wow, I made a decision. and I actually stuck by it. And it was a little uncomfortable, the one I made, not because it was anything bad, but, some other people were involved, and they kind of had an expectation to see me there. I was a part of the group.
Yeah. Well, my next question was going to be, what was you feeling right before you did it?
Angst. I did not want to go. I did it, and it wasn't.
So why don't we talk about it? Because now you're kind of getting into hinting around it.
Well, no, I was about to tell him.
Yeah,
I was about to tell him. It was just a meeting. It was just a meeting. It was a mastermind group, actually, and I had been in it for a couple of months. But it was a good group of people, but it just wasn't serving me.
And this was a daily thing, right?
This was a daily thing. Yeah, it was 5 days a week. It started out as 7 days a week, and then it was 5 days a week. But still, it's just like, it wasn't serving me. I wasn't getting out of it what I needed to get out of it. So I'd go and I'd participate, but it just wasn't filling my soul. And I just decided one day I need to stop this, because it wasn't serving me. And then once I did it and actually had the guts to say no, I was like, wow, I made a decision. I made a decision, and it was good because I didn't hurt anybody, but I released me from that thing. And now, so, I've got my own routines. I've got my own things that I'm doing that are serving me, that I'm really jazzed about, and they energize me more.
Yeah. So I'm,
and even to do stuff I was doing before, but I feel like I'm in control of it now and not just doing something because somebody thought I should do it.
Good. Yeah. I just think of how many other people are doing something that isn't serving them because somebody, got them into it once, and they just decided that all these other people relied on them and expected them to be there. And so they kept fulfilling that role, even though they were slowly dying inside. Or, maybe that's a little dramatic, but just in general, it wasn't serving them. I did that, a long time ago, actually. I was on 6 or 7 boards.
Right.
I was either on them or I was advising them.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I just quit everything. I was just like, okay, resume's full. Good. And I don't need the aggravation. Thank you. You guys go do your thing.
Yeah.
Do you need anything? You maybe email me once in a while, but I'm not going to be at 5 meetings a week anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was it. If it had been a couple, it might have been a little different story, but it was just every day. And I had other stuff I wanted to do every day that more energized me and stuff. So I'm umming. That will never work in the Toastmasters Club. But anyway, so it felt good when I got done, to the point where, there were some things I hadn't been doing because I was, I'm a life coach, and we have a reciprocal coaching arrangement in our chapter sometimes, just because, more practice, more people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So the coach that I had was very good, but I wasn't, we do some projects and I wasn't doing them. For whatever reason, I was down, not motivated, conflicted, whatever the reason was. But once I let that one thing go, I had so much energy. I'm like, suddenly, boom, I finished the 2 things that I had told them I was going to complete. And they're like, well, wow, where'd this energy come from? I was like, because I made a decision. And sometimes that's the biggest thing. Decisions are weird people, but they're very individual. So if you spend a lot of time wondering whether or not you could, or whether or not you should, or something, the simplest thing to do is just make a decision and commit either way. So when I decided I didn't want to be there, I didn't. And then the energy was high, but I was really, really, really surprised at how much energy I had for everything else once I let that one thing go. And I think probably a lot of us have decisions like that.
Yeah. And I think people struggling with that should maybe read No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. A lot of people Yeah, this isn't about being mean. This is about not being a people pleaser. A lot of people are just, a lot of people hang on to those groups and meetings and rec sports or whatever because they think other people are relying on them and they're not willing to be just a little bit selfish and give them the energy to support the other areas of their life. And the book is really about coaching yourself into, hey, if you want to be able to show up for the things that are most important to you, you have to be willing to not show up to the things that aren't important to you. And here are some tips for getting the confidence to do that.
And here's the thing about the decision, and I used to talk about this a lot. If you make a decision, now a lot of people like to say, well, a decision, the root word is decide, which, means to cut off, other options. And I don't even want to go that deep with it. There are those types of decisions, but sometimes if you just make a decision, and you know what, you're free to change your mind later. If you find out, well, maybe it was giving me more value than I thought it was, but, or whatever that decision is, if you can go back in most cases. And then if you do go back, you're armed with a different mindset in the first place than when you left. So,
and how many times do we shirk decisions just for no good reason?
Because you don't want to.
Right. Hey, where do you want to go dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go?
Oh, see, now you're talking about me because last time we had a talk about it. No, I'm that guy. But there's a lot of stuff I don't care about. Right. I mean, it's not a big deal. But if I want it, it's one. The dinner thing is like that for me because I'll eat almost anywhere. But you're right. Some people don't want to make even that decision because, well, what if the other person?
What if you disappoint? Right. Well, and then when this is the worst when that conversation continues like this. Well, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't care where you want to go. How about the steakhouse over there? No, I don't want steak. I thought you didn't care.
That's different. Yeah, right. Exactly. Absolutely. I've had that. Somebody asked me last week, we got together and we're going to have some pizza. And they said, what do you like on your pizza? And I said, anything but anchovies. I don't want no hairy fish on my pizza, And in retrospect, that gave him a lot of room. However, yeah. I modified it a little bit more later, but however, I mean, that was the thing. I can tell you exactly what I don't want. And a lot of other stuff is optional. So yeah, I mean, it felt good. And the things I've done after it felt good because I had a whole different mindset. I had a whole different energy for the things I was doing. And when I did my writing the next day, people noticed the energy. Oh, that was like really awesome. What'd you do there? Yeah. So, but we do that. We do that all the time.
I mean, not only did you do the writing, but you made it a blog post and you made it a podcast.
I did a podcast, and which I've been not doing for the longest time. And in the process of doing that, I made some other decisions about, it doesn't have to be as perfect as I was, I thought it was. When I started doing my podcast way back, I had a particular piece of equipment and it was really, really cool. And I got used to doing it with that, although it was work because I got to do audio and I got to do all this other stuff. Since I got the Zoom thing, when I was doing the podcast the other day, I was like, I don't really need to go get that other setup because I've been doing podcasts with you for 5 years. And for me, just with this microphone on Zoom, and it's like,
yeah, don't take the extra steps if you don't need to.
Yeah, let's not complicate this at all.
Well, Marc Maron
just as great.
Marc Maron, who's got one of the top podcasts out there, he was one of the pioneers of this, making this medium popular and viable as a career for some people. he's noticed during the pandemic that we, like you and I, have the same production values as the Tonight Show, because they're all recording in their basements too.
Yeah. So it's all right. And armed with that energy, there were some other things that I had been neglecting for whatever reason, but suddenly I had the energy to tackle those. Not all of them were big, but I had the energy to do it, and it felt good. And now I just got to finish it. But you know how that goes. So, as far as I'm concerned, life is good. I'm up,
Great.
I'm high. I got big plans. I'm back.
Awesome.
And I'm not Michael Jordan, but
Yeah, as we mentioned in next week's episode, it's a good time to reset. It's the end of the first quarter of the year. Good time to bounce forward into the second quarter, and you just set yourself up big.
Now, if I can find one other decision like that last decision, we'll be having some great fun right here in 2020 WON.
It took some people some time.
Yeah, I got it from somebody the other day. This is how we spell. This is how we spell 2021. 2020 WON.
That's right.
I'm in. So.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Kelvin. Thank you for the continued energy, partnership. We're 250 episodes into this podcast. It means we're coming up on 5 years since our first episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow, indeed. VitaminKDaily.com. Get yourself 4 weeks free. JKWDpodcast.com for show notes for this and every other episode. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye!
A Better Humanhood production.